Welcome to MojoPlays, and today we're looking at 10 facts you might not have known about the Horizon series. For this list, we'll be looking at behind-the-scenes secrets and content that didn't make the cut during the development of Guerilla Games' runaway success. What are some of your favorite facts about your favorite video games? Let us know down in the comments. Before we begin, we publish new content all week long, so be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos. Trilogy threads.
Hello, old friend. Remember me?
Like many new IPs from AAA studios nowadays, there's always the hope that the new IP will be a hit commercially, critically, will resonate with fans, and be the start of a new and expansive series. Sadly, not all these dreams become a reality, and any potential future plans these devs have might not get a chance to be expanded upon despite sales and reception. Looking at you, Days Gone, RIP. However, that didn't stop Guerilla Games from planting the seeds of the series' planned trilogy of games from the very start. Clues were planted in Horizon Zero Dawn for Forbidden West, including the game's title mentioned multiple times, and now fans are poring over every scrap of lore they can find in the Forbidden West to figure out the series' future. Hopefully, the third game will have a better release window this time around. New teams. With Guerrilla's production catalog being limited mostly to first-person shooters alongside a couple spin-offs, they were all set within the same universe and used many of the same assets across all releases. With the production of Horizon Zero Dawn, however, the teams at Guerrilla knew they needed to expand, and so not only were new artists brought on, but new Foley teams as well to develop the unique sounds of the many machines Aloy would encounter in her journey. The linear nature of the Killzone franchise also forced the teams to step outside their comfort zones, and they hired not only Fallout New Vegas head writer John Gonzalez to expand on the world they were already building, but also David Ford to oversee quest design. Scale down. As with most forms of art, ambitions can get the better of your budget. When in the planning stages of Horizon Zero Dawn, developers originally planned for the world of the old ones to be 50 times larger than what gamers ended up exploring. Given the map can take up to an hour to traverse from end to end as it is, it's impressive the devs had even bigger plans for the world of Horizon Zero Dawn, but given the sheer level of detail and care given to every encounter, we'd hate to have to explore more empty area just for those moments. Guerilla Games seemed to feel this was an appropriate size for their vision, as Horizon Forbidden West is roughly the same size. Trial run.
Welcome home, Lucas.
Thank you, sir. It's good to be back.
Once the team at Guerrilla decided they wanted to move on from the Killzone series, they still needed to figure out the nuances of the then newly minted PS4. So instead of taking a risk with their newest property, the team decided that the Killzone series needed one final send-off that would also allow the development teams to learn the ins and outs of the new hardware. While one team was hard at work on Killzone Shadowfall using Guerrilla's brand new Decima engine, behind the scenes another team was building the foundation for what would become Horizon Zero Dawn. With this trial run, the teams not only learned the hardware, but also gave their new engine a chance to stretch its code and see what it was capable of.
How'd it do that?
I saw, but I did not understand.
Camping out.
Varl told me there would be bandit ambushes on the road.
Well, it's not all good news. They don't always come to you. Most dig out a camp, and there they'll sit like spoil on meat.
Unless someone does something about it?
The mini machines and the players' encounters with them were very much the focus of the Horizon series, and became the main draw in all the marketing and promotional materials. While this was definitely the biggest selling point of the series, robot dinosaurs will always be cool, the developers felt the player would need more breaks from all the mechanical carnage. Unfortunately, this decision came near 0 hour of the game's development, and forced the teams to scramble to add in more human encounters, which led to the creation of the bandit camps. This late addition ended up being called out as one of the weakest aspects of an otherwise compelling experience, and Guerrilla thankfully paid much more attention to these areas in the sequel Forbidden West.
I hope he's really over this time.
Me too. But you did good.
Military machines.
By the goddess, what's it doing to them?
Taking control.
While in the planning stages of Horizon Zero Dawn, the artists pitched many different variations of machines for the player to encounter, but none of them felt quite right, with the majority of them feeling as though they'd just been transported from Guerrilla's previous work on the Killzone franchise. Once the story became more fleshed out, the decision was made for the machines Aloy would encounter to be less militaristic and more animalistic. However, these early machine concepts can still be found in the game, as some of those original designs would be repurposed for the Corruptors and Deathbringers that the Eclipse would eventually use to carry out the will of Hades.
This machine, it looks ancient. Where did it come from?
Giddy up.
I should try overriding other kinds of machines. Probably can't ride them all, but I might find a use for them.
In any open world, traversal is an essential mechanic. Many open world games adapt either horses or vehicles depending on the time period, and in the early planning stages of Horizon Zero Dawn, it was no different. While the devs spent a lot of time nailing down the mechanics of Aloy's mount, it wasn't until John Gonzalez came on board that Aloy's horse was switched out for her machine mounts she's known for today. His reasoning was that if Aloy can ride a horse, then anyone in the world can as well, and Aloy is no longer as special as the story needed her to be. Given the enormous reaction to Aloy's various mounts throughout the series so far, it's safe to say he was spot on. Fulton Extraction. During the planning stages of video games, the most elaborate plans are often the ones left on the cutting room floor. Originally, the devs planned for Aloy to be able to call in an extraction team after taking down an especially large machine, and said team would then deploy a Fulton system to carry the machine back to Meridian to be salvaged for parts and specific components, which Aloy would then earn a cut from. Similar to the Fulton system in the later Metal Gear games, the system proved to be too convoluted, and was eventually scrapped before it got past the planning stages. Guerrilla would revisit salvaging specific parts and components for Horizon Forbidden West, albeit without the Fulton team. Co-op. Given how many titles seemingly go out of their way to include some kind of multiplayer component nowadays, it's nice to know some teams aren't willing to sacrifice quality just for the sake of multiplayer. This is the decision the team at Guerrilla had to make when developing the systems for Horizon Zero Dawn. The game was originally envisioned with co-op in mind. However, as production continued, the team realized that in order to incorporate co-op into the game, the level of detail they were trying to achieve would need to be halved, and given the scope of the game, this was a sacrifice Guerrilla was not willing to make. With advancements not only in hardware but the Decima engine itself, co-op is still something Guerrilla may revisit in the future. Early days on the horizon.
Our stories speak of the ones that came before. The old ones.
After production wrapped on Killzone 2, Guerrilla held a pitch meeting to discuss future projects. The pitch that was met with the most positive reaction would later become Horizon Zero Dawn, and most of the groundwork was already in place, including the fiery-haired Aloy as well as the post-apocalyptic world. However, these plans were later shelved after the team learned of a similar title, Enslaved: Odyssey to the West, being developed by Ninja Theory. After finishing production on Killzone 3, the team began work on another pitch from the same meeting, but once again found a similar project being worked on by Ready at Dawn with the Order 1886. Not able to leave the world of the old ones behind, the team revisited the idea of Aloy and began early work on what would become one of Sony's newest tentpole series, Horizon Zero Dawn.
They don't tell us why the machines rule these lands, but they warn us that this balance cannot last.
with our picks, don't forget to stick around and check out our other videos on MojoPlays.